Hello and welcome back to the Elite Football Show. And we are doing another player analysis show. My name is Haider and I'm your host as ever today. We're getting so much great feedback about these player analysis shows because it's a little bit different. We're diving deeper into some of Manchester United's targets and some fantastic players around Europe. I'm delighted to be joined by Jamie Kemble, who's a football writer and a massive Villareal fan. Jamie, thank you for joining me. It's been a bit of an effort trying to find an English-speaking Villareal fan. But welcome to the Elite Football Show. How are you today? And how's life treating you, obviously, with what's going on in the world?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I can understand the trouble of finding an English-speaking Villareal fan. They're not too common, but yeah, there are some of us.
I remember the days, when was it Riquelme and there's a few other Marcos Senna, absolutely fantastic. I mean, I've got a bit of a soft spot for Villareal and Valencia, two teams I think who are a massive cornerstone of Spanish football. So no, it's absolutely fantastic to get you on. And we're going to talk about Pau Torres today because he's a player which keeps on coming up in terms of Manchester United's interests. I have it on pretty good authority that he is actually Manchester United's first choice centre-back target. A lot of fans want Upamecano, but it looks like it is Pau Torres. Left-footed centre-back, Jamie. Talk to me a little bit about Torres' rise to the first team and how highly rated is he at Villareal?
Yeah, I think, like you say, he's one of the next biggest things. I think in terms of Spanish defenders and perhaps players overall. Really, he came through the ranks. He's born locally to Villarreal. And he's done a really good job since he's come into the first team sort of last year after the loan spell at Malaga. Played for the C and the B team, and has come through. Like lots before him and done really well. Villarreal's got a great academy and a great youth setup, and he's a product of that. Like I said, huge talent. Someone everyone speaks very highly of. It's no surprise to see so many big teams linked. I know that Real Madrid as well as United and maybe even Arsenal and lots of other teams have been linked with him over the last few months. And I think Villarreal's excellent start has helped that as well. Certainly competing for a top four space. I think one defeat in 24 games, and they've been really excellent this season. And he's been a cornerstone to that. So absolutely no surprise to see teams linked. And I think 50 million euros as well release clause, which makes him pretty accessible for those at least outside Spain, if not some of the bigger teams in Spain.
Yeah, the release clause is something which came up a lot in the summer. I think he was probably out of Manchester United's reach. Obviously, we've seen the COVID finances, the effect of COVID. Manchester United now have no revenue like a lot of other teams, no fans coming in. So that will be definitely something to think about in the summer. But Jamie, in terms of his strengths and weaknesses, Manchester United are looking to play out the back. That's one of the biggest things. I think at the moment, when you look at the current centre-backs, I think both Maguire and Lindelof are good footballers. But one of the biggest problems is whoever's playing left centre-back, so Torres is obviously left-footed, whoever's playing left centre-back, he's not comfortable there, I would say. So how does Torres excel in that respect? I mean, is that something that he is very, very comfortable doing? Is he able to start off attacks? Is he someone who, when he's got the ball at his feet, he can play a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the most attractive aspects of Pau. As you know, it's very difficult to find a defender who's very comfortable at the back. I think that's why we see such a premium paid for those sorts of players in the last few years as they become more popular in the game. But yeah, I think when I look at Pau Torres, I think in terms of setting up attacks and that sort of thing, especially with the ball at his feet, it's almost as if he sees the play sort of 2 phases ahead. He looks 2 phases ahead. He's comfortable playing the short passes, and he got like sort of a pass percentage completion, maybe 85-90% across the season, which tells you he plays those short passes. But he'll often look for the long ball, especially across the body, left-footed to the far sort of right wing. Where he's picking sort of Samu Chukwueze, players like that. Very adept at doing that, and also even just through balls through the middle if something opens up. He's shown that he can play, sort of killer through balls to set attacks on their way, and he doesn't mind missing out those midfielders to find a good pass. And he's shown that he's very good at finding those long balls, both for Villarreal and for Spain as well. And he'll pop up in the box as well in terms of corners and things like that. He scored a couple of goals from headers and second balls. And in terms of, you mentioned the left-footed aspect, he's very, very left-footed. If I had to pick a weakness, it probably would be that probably doesn't quite use his right foot enough. And that's not an issue at the moment. I wonder whether it would be an issue sort of at Champions League level when you've got teams maybe sort of brilliant at pressing, and the teams look at pressing in as much detail, and maybe sort of Liverpool teams like that. They will sort of attack his left foot and make sure he stays on his right and put pressure on him that way. He probably hasn't had to show that so much at the moment. He's not made too many mistakes, sort of go into his right foot where needed, but he's very left-footed and would usually opt to play off that foot.
Very interesting. In terms of his reading of the game, where does he stand in that respect? Is he someone who... I mean, I've read a few reports on him. I've seen him a little bit. He doesn't look the quickest, I'll be honest with you. And when Manchester United are playing a high line, and we've seen with United's current centre pairing of Maguire and Lindelof, I mean, very rarely do they actually get exposed for pace, but they're both so slow. And there is going to be at least, once a month maybe where they will be exposed because of lack of pace. Now, if Torres does come in, it's most likely he will play next to Harry Maguire, who is, as everyone knows, desperately slow. Very, very slow. So when you're looking, obviously, at Pau Torres, what's his reading of the game? Is he good at intercepting? Is he smart in that respect? And is his perceived lack of pace a little bit of a problem and something that United should be wary of, considering he plays such a high line? Because I'm not sure if Villareal do play a high line. So are you able to elaborate on that as well?
Yeah, I mean, he plays sort of a 4-3-3 now at Villareal. It's changed a little bit from last year with Unai Emery coming in. What I would say about Villareal is they have a lot of protection in front with someone like Danny Pareja. There's lots of protection in front and options there to play out from. And he's got Raul Albiol next to him as well, really experienced centre-half and someone nice to learn from. You're right about his pace. He's not the quickest. He's certainly quicker than Maguire. I might not be saying too much. But yeah, he's not the quickest. But my favourite thing about Pau Torres, and something everyone sort of raved about, is his reading of the game. The way I would describe it, he doesn't attack the ball. He attacks where the ball is going, and he's got that brilliant ability to do that as great defenders have. He's not someone who'll dive in. He'll look for where the ball is going, and you'll see that in his attacking play as well. You see some of his goals that have not. Some of them have been sort of direct headers from corners, but a lot of them being rebounds as well, kind of thing. I know it's not a big sample size being a defender, but defending, he will look to where the ball is going, and that, I think, sometimes he doesn't sort of shine on the stat sheets in terms of diving into tackles, making these sort of key interceptions. But he got the game under control. He's such an intelligent player. Something Unai Emery has spoken about. I think last week he said that throughout all his sort of management career, he's now seen a player like Pau Torres in terms of defending players. And he's just got such a high football IQ and intelligence. He knows where the ball is going. He'll attack that area. I think that makes him sort of less targeted as well by opposition forwards. And I think that's something we've seen with sort of Raul Albiol, who's like a good defender, but getting on in age and sort of lacking the pace. I think he's been targeted more. But yeah, I think his reading of the game is probably his best asset above all.
Very, very interesting. And Jamie, in terms of aerial presence as well, or under the aerial ball, again, that's something that when I have done a little bit of research, that is something probably where there is an element of weakness to his game. I would say that's probably, and in the Premier League, as you know, it's a very physical league. And teams will exploit that. You go and play Burnley and they'll go and put their two lumbering Wood and Ashley Barnes up front. And you'll see Lindelof, for example, struggle under that respect. So is that something Torres does struggle in? And is that something that United should be wary of if they're looking to bring in a player like that? Because it's great being good on the ball. And you look at somewhere like Man City, where actually that would probably suit Torres a little bit more, I would say. For the way that City play, the way Guardiola wants his defenders to play, I see a better fit there. What I do maybe worry about a little bit at United is that they're not as good in possession. Maybe this will help them be better in possession. And then obviously under the high ball as well, I think there's definitely cause for concern. But if he's next to Maguire, that's actually one of Maguire's biggest strengths. So that could work quite nicely in terms of that partnership.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point. Like you say, I think he's better suited sort of Man City kind of game. I think that's just a product coming through, a Spanish club, a Spanish player, and that you say this is very different from English football. And they'd rather play the ball on the floor, and so would Torres. I So I think that he's a player to bring the ball down. You're right there. He's 6'3", so I think around 6'3". He's certainly capable of winning headers. He scored some nice headers in the opposition box from corners. He can leap high. He's a good header of the ball. I think maybe he's just not asked to use it as much in Spanish football, and something that would probably just be drilled into him if he took the step to English football as part of the change of the two different styles.
The funny thing is, we expect players like Ruben Diaz came obviously from Portugal. I thought he'd struggle. He's emerged as probably the informed centre-back in the Premier League. I do feel like Torres could have that similar impact. And they're both very intelligent. Like you said, the footballing IQ from both players is phenomenal. And I think what you're seeing in the Premier League is that teams are now moving away from that. Yes, the defender just has to be able to be strong aerially. I cannot reiterate more how important it is for United's next centre-back signing to be fantastic on the ball. That's the most important thing. And in terms of character, Jamie, is he a leader? Is he someone that's going to be barking orders? Is he someone who's hardworking? Is he a consummate professional? Because these are really important things when you sign a player. Something United have done in the last 7 years is to sign players and not really vetted the personality. And the last couple of years, something that Solskjaer has done really well, and you've seen like Bruno Fernandes come in, great personalities. Even Van der Beek as well, who's a very good professional, getting much game time. Is that something Torres has in abundance as well?
Yeah, I think he's good. Like you say, he's been linked with big teams for a good year now. I think that hasn't turned his head whatsoever. His development has been excellent. Everyone who's worked with him, I mentioned Unai Emery. I think Santi Cazorla as well has said a little bit. Everyone gives good reviews about him. I think the other thing is he's working in a team now with good experienced players. Like I say, he's working alongside Raul Albiol, who's a great leader from the back. Pareja as well in front of him. I think it's something that will develop. We have to remember that he's still relatively early in his development. I know he's a great player. He's just turned 24. He's around 3 years into sort of senior football, really 3-4 years. I mean, he's played for Malaga in the Segunda, played for Villareal's first team now for a couple of years. So I think we have to sort of keep in mind that he's a young player. He's not going to be the dominant figure next to Albiol or other senior players in the team. But he's a totally calm player and someone who's sort of he's just in control of situations. I think he believes in his ability and that's sort of where his confidence stems from, really.
Yeah, fantastic points as well. Centre backs do tend to peak a little bit later, don't they, in their career, and you do see them emerge. And a lot of centre backs they play for a long time. The experience they develop, they don't necessarily have to be the quickest, but if they've got it up there, then they usually fare pretty well later on in their career. Jamie, in terms of what you've heard on the grapevine in terms of a move, I know that Real Madrid are very interested. He looks like possibly a Ramos replacement. Is that where he would like to go? I can imagine he probably does, being Spanish and playing for one of the, if not the biggest club in the world. I like to say United is the biggest club in the world, but there are two big Spanish teams in Spain who do run United close. But I really do expect United to go in for him. One of the guys on the podcast, Kieran, he knows someone that works for is it the Marca, and he said that United are very interested scouting him, and it looks like they might make a move in the summer. So would he be interested in a move to United, or does it look like he might have his heart set on a move to the Spanish capital?
I think it's an interesting one. Unai Emery admitted last week that I think a move to a top club is more or less imminent. I think, looking at this summer or next season at best. Obviously, we'd like to keep him as much as we could, but I think it's the reality of it that he's a brilliant player, and he's already. I think he started 4 of the last 5 Spain games. He'll be the starter at the Euros, no doubt. He's not experienced of football outside Spain, so that's something that could work for or against someone like United. Whether he wants to go out of his comfort zone and prove himself at a different club in a different league, or whether perhaps he's not quite at that stage yet where he wants to leave La Liga. And I wouldn't underestimate the factor of some players wanting to go outside their comfort zone and try something new, try a different country. But like I say, he's still young, so that might be something that waits.
Very, very interesting. United have got a big Spanish contingent anyway at the club. You got Juan Mata, David De Gea, a lot of Spanish-speaking players. So I think actually, in terms of settling in, moving to Manchester United, I think there's a lot of players there who could help him settle. So that's very interesting. Jamie, just to sort of go off Pau Torres now, and to finish off, is there money problems as well with La Liga? I mean, you're seeing what's happening in Liga where it's in disarray. Is there something similar going on with La Liga teams? And is there an opportunity then for perhaps some of the British clubs to go in and buy some fantastic talent? I mean, you look at Valencia; they're in absolute disarray. And they've got some very good players. Carlos Soler is absolutely fantastic, and a few others. And big teams can pick them off for absolute peanuts. And as well on Unai Emery as well, to touch on him, because I think what he experienced in England was nothing short of disgraceful. The mocking of his accent, the disrespect he got, and I'm really happy. I'm not even an Arsenal fan, but I'm really happy to see him getting a bit more recognition. And actually, when you look at the situation at Arsenal right now, Arteta's picked up a little bit, but you're starting to see actually he deserves a lot more respect than he's got. And he's doing really well at Villareal. So yeah, just touch on, is there any sort of financial issues as well with La Liga? And Unai Emery's reputation seems to have taken a step up in terms of where he left about a year ago.
Yeah, sure. In terms of financial difficulties, I think it does vary sort of club by club. Like you say, Valencia have struggled in recent years, and actually, last summer Villarreal really benefited from that by picking up Parejo and Coquelin as well. I think that's something Villarreal fans celebrate, that they took sort of their best players there. It's an interesting. I think Parejo's been brilliant this season as well. I think, I don't know if you're aware, I think Atletico Madrid are in sort of financial difficulty in terms of their debt. I think Barcelona are the same. I mean, pending a new president, I know. So there are some difficulties, but in terms of Villarreal, a very sort of financially secure club, well looked after, well run. So there are no real issues there that sort of could take advantage of with Torres. But obviously the already scores ties them a little bit anyway, ties their hands. But that's something obviously that will develop as the sort of pandemic rumbles on and we continue to go without fans. That's something that every league and every club is worried about, I think. You obviously have your more secure clubs, but when you look at Barcelona who've got issues, that's sort of eye-opening, really, that a club that big could have issues that on that sort of scale. But I mean, they'll be fine, obviously. They're a big enough club to get through it, and they have some really expensive players, so the value of their players can sort of cover that debt alone. But yeah, moving on to Unai Emery. Yeah, I agree with you what you say about his time in England. I think it was really, really uncomfortable for just for anyone, I think, looking on sort of with a just a respect for foreign managers or foreign people, even, I think, just on a people basis. You look at it comes in and speaks English, and he gets made fun of for his accent, and you see other managers who come in, sort of Bielsa, who does, hasn't spoken a word of English really in his press conferences, and gets absolutely loved for it. It's just it's baffling, really. Perhaps that's the difference between the two clubs. I don't know, but yeah, he's been absolutely brilliant since he's come in. Like you say, he's changed that 4-3-3, and Villarreal have been excellent. One defeat in the last 24 games, I think it is. And they look so much better defensively as well, which is partly perhaps to Torres' improvement, but also just the improvement as a whole from Calleja's reign. I think it's the fourth or fifth best defence in the league. They're up there challenging for the top four. I think Sevilla got a game in hand, which would sort of see them go ahead, but they're right in the mix, which is great and a lot better than last year and certainly the year before. So yeah, I think a lot of excitement around Emery as well. We know his reputation in the Europa League, so there's excitement about what Villarreal can do in cup competitions. They're still in the Copa del Rey. Yeah, so absolutely brilliant. I couldn't say any more good things about him, really. Like you say, his reputation has increased so much since he's returned to Spain, showed what he can do again, and didn't do that badly at Arsenal. It wasn't a total disaster or anything by any means. I think if other managers have done worse in other places, have come over, especially big clubs, and especially at clubs like Arsenal, it's not straightforward managing that club, especially with the finances and things like that. So I think he did an okay job there, and he's come back and shown the absolute best of what he's got to offer at Villarreal, where he seems very happy, very comfortable, and I think it's very exciting for Villarreal fans to look ahead and look forward to a couple of years with him and see how much the club can improve under his hand.
I absolutely agree. I couldn't agree more, actually, Jamie. And my last sort of say on it is that he didn't do that badly at Arsenal. He well, you just look at it now. He got Aubameyang scoring, got Lacazette scoring. He nearly won the Europa League. It's not like Arsenal are a club where they were, a decade ago. They're not at all at that level. They think they are. As a United fan, I do sort of revel in their demise. My little brother's an Arsenal fan. He's a producer, so he might cut this bit out. Well, honestly, Jamie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for giving me an insight into Pau Torres a lot more. I'm actually very, very excited because I think that that's excited me, the sort of qualities that he brings. Where can the listeners find your fantastic work?
Yeah, I work for Reach at the moment, so I cover the London clubs for Football London, trends writer there. So yeah, look out on Football London, and you can follow me on Twitter, just my name. That'll be lots of Villareal updates.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much, Jamie, for joining me. To all the listeners, please go and check out some of Jamie's great work. We'll put his @handle in the description below. This is another player analysis show. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time.